the risk is not just shutting down a conversation, it's shutting down a relationship.
Morning.
Good morning.
How'd you sleep?
Good. How'd you sleep?
I think I slept good too.
Yeah. I was a little bit nervous about this endeavor,
Yeah.
but all
And
good.
My
All
coffee's not hot anymore.
Oh, that's not good. Sorry.
Are you ready to dive deeper?
I am.
Yeah. If you miss Monday, we are two friends, close friends, who want to invite you into a space to talk about deeper things. And we want you to know that all voices are wanted, welcome, valued. We are inviting you onto the couch this morning.
Yep. For the morning share.
For the morning share. We want to break down today some of our core values.
Yep.
That we think are very important, like part of our DNA.
Yep.
That really is at the heart of this podcast.
Yep. There are three main ones.
Mm-hmm.
They're S's for all you literary geniuses out there. So we have shared stories,
Yeah.
shared spaces, and sharing ourselves.
Yeah. So at the heart of this, that's what we want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a governing principle of keep coming back to those things.
And as in, it's part of our name.
It is.
That-
Yeah. The morning share. Not the singer share.
No, not CHER.
R. But share. Like we were taught to in preschool. That sharing is caring. The Care Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
The
us.
Share Bears. We're the Share Bears. Oh, I've got to write that down. This very moment.
All right. I'm trying to keep us in the time limit.
All right.
All right. Next on the morning share.
Well, now my eyes are all. So the morning share, inherent in our name, is share.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to talk about. Shared space.
Yeah.
So why is that important? Why does it matter?
Well, like we said, our Monday episode, we talked about how we physically, Deanna and I, share the same space. We live in the same house, along with a host of other people. And so sharing space can be literal in a physical sense, but it also implies kind of emotional space that you share. So it's both.
This is, we're creating a room. We're creating a space for others to be seen and known, heard, all of those things.
And valued. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to give the big point away right now too. The whole reason we're doing this is that we have cultivated this kind of space together and have reaped the rewards of it. And that's what we want for you and everyone that we know and don't know.
Yep.
So then what would you say if sharing space sounds completely foreign to me? And like, what do you mean sharing a space other than like sitting across from someone in a chair? How would you help someone understand how to start cultivating a space?
I think I think it comes from a place of hospitality too. Like, are you open? It's an openness to being willing to share your space. Like, am I willing to invite somebody to sit down at my table or go out, meet them at a restaurant and share a meal together? But I think even for a middle schooler at a local school, are you willing to, if possible, ask somebody new to sit down at your lunch table? Are you willing to share your physical space? I feel like there's been seasons of my life where I have definitely given off kind of the energy of, I don't want to talk to you. I don't have anything to say to you. And I just want to be here all by myself. And I'm learning that that's really not always a great thing. I can have an openness and a welcomeness in my presence.
I love the term open. And I would say that that's what you model here is like an open door.
Yeah. Yeah, that is there's
a
all
reality.
And there's all kinds of stories with that, how I have radically just continued physically to open my door to people who made other people uncomfortable, but it's what we felt like it was the right thing to do. And so hopefully, if you're new to this, it may be sometimes it's just engaging in a conversation with a stranger? Are you sharing your space in the, checkout line, engaging your checkout clerk in a conversation?
Yes.
Asking about their day, reading their name on their name tag, and treating them as a human being. Is it, whatever that is, how are you treating those around you that share space?
I want to just throw the words like being present out there at this point, because I feel like the shared space and open, like it just goes along with it. Like, and I just put myself in the shoes of being at the grocery line. And a lot of times we're not present in those situations. Like, I have a list of groceries to get, I've got to pick up so-and-so from school or whatever. Like, we're not actually present, where when we practice presence, then we practice openness.
Right.
Automatically. I think, right?
Right.
Like, I'm in the grocery line. Let's just stay with that example. And I'm looking at the name tag. I'm looking at the cashier in their eyes and engaging right there.
Right.
And so I think at the heart of sharing space is being present.
Yes.
Being aware and intentional. And those are things we're going to talk about all the time.
Yes. Yes.
So creating that space, cultivating that space of openness and being present, I think is really
for sure
the heart of it.
And if grocery store is not on your to-do list, it would be, are you present in a meeting that you're having?
Absolutely.
Are you, whatever meeting you're a part of, are you also present beyond your role in that meeting? Are you present to engage others in a conversation around a conference table, or notice them and ask about their lives? I think that can be applied there too.
Absolutely, which is a great segue to sharing stories, because at the heart and the DNA of the morning share is seeing people and knowing that each person has a story, and viewing them as a human.
Absolutely.
And so I think, how do we think about sharing stories? What would you say is like the most important thing?
I think a key word here is curiosity, because I think to lead with curiosity also implies humility. It means the world does not revolve around me, number one, and I don't know everything. And then beyond that, I feel like that if we're really curious and people are really willing to be honest with what they are, or we want to know them more in a relational way, then we're going to hear things and life experiences that may or may not line up with our experiences and our perspectives. And so then I think that's where it can get a little bit ticky. And so recently we've come up with a phrase that kind of helps us in those moments, and it's 3 words. Tell me more. Instead of forming an opinion really quickly that would shut the conversation down, can I instead kind of use that phrase as a way to continue the conversation?
Yeah, I think that goes a lot into our typical practice of listening is probably not very good. Just in general, like I remember someone helped me understand this years ago. They were like, well, when you're listening to me, are you listening to what I'm saying, or are you just forming your response? And that was so transformational for me, because I had to confess, like, oh yeah, I'm actually just thinking about how I'm going to respond to what you're saying,
Which is not being present to the conversation.
Yeah.
That's what I have learned.
Yeah.
Is when I am forming what I'm going to say next, or what needs to happen next, or what I want to accomplish in this conversation, I'm not being present.
Yeah.
So listening in and of itself is an act of being present.
Yes.
Truly listening.
Truly listening, which, and maybe we can go ahead and say this, but sometimes listening, maybe even a lot more times than we should, we're forming our response, and then we're quick to say something instead of just what we say, holding space. And this is in like the counseling world, and maybe you've heard of it before, but I would love to just take a second and
would love that.
Put some words around it.
Yes.
Holding space is creating a safe and supportive environment for someone to experience their emotions, thoughts, and experiences without judgment or attempts to fix, change, or control the situation. It's about being fully present and listening with empathy and allowing the other person to feel heard and understood. So a lot of times you don't have to say anything.
Right.
Just think about what it's like to be in their shoes, or just hold the space for them of what their experience is. And it's more difficult than it seems.
It is. And just as you were talking, it made me think of, we go back and forth, between like the Bible and like the golden rule that a lot of us have grown up with is to do to others, to treat others the way you would have them treat you. Mm-hmm. And yet so often I don't do that with other people. I quickly, and I'm like, okay, let's solve this problem.
Sure.
Kind of thing. And so that might be a good way too of grounding us in being present to the conversation is in the moment. Is this how I would like to be listened to? Can I be the listener that I would want?
Yeah.
So,
and just even in, we think about being together at, for Thanksgiving with the whole family, where you've got a mixing pot of worlds where people have different views on politics and religion and you name it, where, people will even avoid going home because they don't want to be in a volatile space. And I think this is how we can promote safe spaces, is being willing to be in a space and not having to say, well, this is what I think.
Yeah.
And you should be able to, and that should be reciprocated. But even if you're just trying to begin to cultivate a safe space where you can share stories, then you be the one that models that, where when someone says something that you don't agree with, you say, tell me more.
Yeah.
What was the other thing?
I haven't thought about it that way.
I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah. That's something I feel like my husband has learned to practice, because I think too, if you live in any kind of community, but especially even as you as a parent, sometimes with your children have their own opinions, their own values, their own things. And sometimes they think about things differently than we do. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that they have different values. They just approach those values differently, or maybe they have different values. Right. And so being able to talk to that without shutting it down the conversation is key. And so there are moments where you've got to come up with some way of diffusing kind of a standoff or shutting down not just a conversation, but a relationship.
Yes.
And
that's what's at stake, right?
Exactly. And I think that's what we don't talk about enough, is that the risk is not just shutting down a conversation, it's shutting down a relationship. And where two people can't be their authentic selves with each other. Yeah. And so therefore, I think that phrase of, I haven't thought about it that way, gives you a break. We don't have to agree or disagree. It's just acknowledging, I heard you. Yeah. And like you said earlier, thanking the person for being willing to tell you what they really think.
Yes. Yep.
And then just say, I've never thought about it that way. Yeah. Let me take time to consider that, or something is what we were talking about as well. So I think those are good and right and necessary if you want to continually cultivate a space where other people are willing to have inner conversations with you.
Yes. And please avoid the phrase.
Yes. At all cost.
We'll just have to agree to disagree.
Yes.
Because all that does is shut the conversation down.
Yes.
Which then probably is working to shut the relationship down.
Yes.
So I think if you're wanting to cultivate this space of openness, then being willing to say, I've never thought about that before, or can I have some time to consider those things, is such a good way of keeping the conversation open. And you know what? You saying you've given me some things to think about is not saying I agree or I disagree.
Right.
It's so, I think a lot of times we're worried about condoning a certain behavior, but it's not. It's just, man, that's interesting. I haven't thought about that before. Or you've given me things to think about. Is such a gentle, good way.
Exactly. And I think something that's so valuable to remember in this moment is we are all humans first, number one. And because we all have a story, we all exist beyond the story that we're sharing in that moment. So I am bigger than
part of a bigger story. My
stance on this, I'm bigger than this one conversation we're having. So to then say, let's agree to disagree, it means you have now dwindled this entire person who God created in their image down to this opinion that you agree or don't agree with. Yeah. And so that's just so limiting in that moment. And that does stifle, if not kill, relationships. And so I think continually remembering that we're sharing a conversation. That's all this is. This isn't my whole existence. This is just a conversation. And so keeping that in mind, I think also helps you stay present to the reality that this human that you're looking at is bigger than this conversation.
Yeah.
So and I think to say then, thanks for sharing that with me, means that they have also entrusted you with this moment of their lives. They're present.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's pretty amazing to remember.
And I think is a good segue too, to like acknowledging that they've just shared themselves with you.
A part of themselves.
A part of themselves with you.
Mm.
So, this is all intertwined, but like honoring that they just were vulnerable, which is kind of the next step. We talk about sharing ourselves. It takes vulnerability. And so honoring that in them and being a safe place for them to come back and say it again. If you are a safe place and you don't shut them down, then that proves to them, hey, I can come back. We can have hard conversations and I feel honored and seen and heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we have to we're all about defining our terms here. Dee, what does vulnerability mean?
Well, we love Brene Brown, and she describes it or defines it, the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome.
Yeah. I just trembled just a little bit.
And I think there's more to it.
Absolutely.
Vulnerability is not just sharing information. It implies emotion. It involves risk. It's actually how this truth has affected me.
How it makes me feel.
How it makes me feel. Yeah. It's the willingness to be seen in my pain, in my hope. It's not just telling the truth, but allowing myself to be impacted by how it's received. So, yeah.
Yeah. So there's another word here that often gets confused with vulnerability, and that's transparency, right?
Yeah.
And so we have this other word, transparency, which really I think sometimes I think about like in a financial context or in a business world just means being financially transparent means showing all your cards, showing the truth and the facts about your financial situation, or there can be other, obviously, other forms of transparency, but it really is just showing the facts of something, right? Vulnerability is showing the emotion about the facts.
Yeah. In fact, when we were kind of discussing this, a neat analogy was that transparency is a window into what's being shown. So there's control of like, we're showing you, I'm going to show you this. And vulnerability is opening the door.
Yes.
So it's one thing, to go up to and be able to peek into the window of your house and be able to see, the living room and some things, but it's a whole different thing to open the door and welcome someone in and, and see the dust on something.
Exactly. If I have the courage to show up and share something that I can't already control how you're going to respond to me about that either.
Yeah.
Like I'm risking just sharing the thing, whether or not you really are positive or negative response about that or whatever. I mean, you're just ripping the Band-Aid off out there. Kind of like.
So let's talk about that. Let's say, so what are the things that keep us from being vulnerable? What are the things that keep you from being vulnerable, Angela?
I think I have grown up with a lot of wanting to be perfect and seeing kind of like that if somebody saw that I wasn't perfect, that they would think less of me. Or if they knew some of my mistakes or some of the parts of my story that aren't super glossy and perfect and clean or whatever, that they're going to think less of me. So I think there's a risk there. What about you, Deanna?
This one hits home because I think for me, the risk is sharing something and then someone rushing to try to fix it or minimize it or dismiss it. I've just shared my deepest longing or, something very precious to me. And then really what I'm wanting is to be seen. Like I want for that person to say, whew, that's tough or whatever, like acknowledge that I just shared that with you. And then if the first thing is like, well, that's not how it is, or think about it this way. Oh, that's one of my biggest things is like to rush to the positive. It's one thing to be like an optimist and have a positive outlook, but when someone just is vulnerable with you and then you're just like, well, look at it this way. It's just, I don't know. It just like sucks the life out of what just happened. Like I'm sharing a moment with you. I don't actually need, I know the other side of that.
Yes.
I know the things already. What I need for you to do is see me and just hold the space.
Yes.
You know, like we talked about. Like I just need someone to witness that part of my journey.
And just you saying that made me think about the times that I have rushed to quickly show someone else the positive or speak the positive. And I think it's probably because I'm uncomfortable in that moment that they're sharing something so raw, because it stirs up kind of like a rawness in me.
Yeah.
And so maybe in an effort to quickly help you find the positive, really I'm trying to help me find the positive.
Yeah.
In my own story.
Yes.
And so that doesn't excuse the response in that moment.
Right.
But it does, I think there again, the longer that we can walk together and learn that vulnerability isn't so scary within the proper context.
Yeah.
That to be vulnerable also breeds vulnerability. And it's a really sweet space to be in when you can be there. So yeah, I think that sometimes we're quick to want to fix somebody else because ultimately we're uncomfortable in the space of holding that space. And I think that's maybe when silence could be our best friend for both of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which you hinted at it, but the very fear, I think, that keeps us from being vulnerable is the key to unlocking the deeper relationship and really the reward on the other side. So when I am practicing vulnerability and I see that this person honors that space, then not only does it grow that muscle in me to come back and want to share more with you, but then it proves to you that you can too.
Right.
You know, that it is a safe space. And I keep thinking, coming back to like, this is something that over the past few years, we have done this and proved and are reaping the benefits of it.
Yes.
But it takes practice. It takes growing that muscle. But we're also not saying share your deepest, darkest secrets with everyone. There's some aspect of discernment that I think you want
definitely
to bring
not.
up.
No, I just think you have every human kind of knows who are your safe people. And there again, I think that's why sharing space with people at least lays a little bit of a foundation for sharing your story and then sharing yourself, right? It's a progression.
Yes.
You get to know people. And so that can start out like conversations and then continually you're building connections with people that kind of foster this space. But even this space still can be scary. And so you have to have discernment. And so Brené Brown, in a book I recently read by her, I think it was Dare to Lead. She talks about this whole idea to consider like a 1 inch by 1 inch piece of paper, and whose names would you put on that 1 inch piece of paper that you know you could trust with your truth. Like who could you be that vulnerable with? And start with those people. We don't do this for every single person that we meet. Certainly not, the cashier or people who haven't historically proven to be safe spaces for us. Yeah. I think you have to use discernment.
And I think it's so the 1 inch by 1 inch implies that it's going to be very few people in your life. And some of us may not have anybody. So we have to start somewhere. And so then I think about, well, if I'm someone who doesn't have even one person who I can be vulnerable with, then how do I start? And then I was thinking, okay, well, so say I'm that person and I try to practice vulnerability and they didn't do it right. Well, should I give up on that person? If it's the one person I think I have at least the most relationship with or the most depth of relationship, then then maybe you don't walk away. Maybe you help them understand. So maybe say, hey, when I'm sharing this is what I need from you.
Yes.
It could just be for those of us who maybe don't have those solid connections already.
Right.
That's a way that you can cultivate that.
Exactly.
Number one, model for them what a safe space is. And then number two, give them ways to be a safe space for you.
Right. And I think another term that's so helpful here to remember is practice.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Nobody is born
Yes.
knowing how to do this stuff. This
Yeah.
is, like you kept saying, this is something we have cultivated.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we are talking through throughout the entirety of this podcast actually are just things not only have we been doing, but we are currently still doing and hopefully still growing better at. We don't have this all figured out.
Right.
I'm just still working to learn myself and then practicing it. So find a group of people that you have connection with and start with the simple things. Can you share space? And then can you share just some stories? Get to know each other, whatever that looks like, over a meal at a restaurant or over coffee or in your workspace, whatever that looks like in your home. This may even be people you live with that maybe just for whatever reason you're looking for a little bit deeper connection.
Which I think what you mentioned was so good about the conversation cards. And I think too that society has gotten away from being present altogether, but at the table is such an incredible place for conversation. And so, I think maybe in a lot of families, we grab our dinner and we go sit in front of the TV or we go to different rooms. But I think that's a great place to start. If you have a family, people in your house, like gather around the table and get some conversation cards. You don't have to buy a box of conversation cards. There are resources online that just come up with, and they can range from silly and light to deeper. And that is part of growing that muscle of conversation and asking hard questions.
So rewards, I just think, again, the benefits of this way of going is it deepens relationships.
Yes.
And it continues, fosters, and then gives you tools to form bigger and bigger and broader connections, as well as you're now with every person you're being willing to be vulnerable with, and in turn they reciprocate that. Then now they may feel a little bit more empowered to go be vulnerable with someone else and start this practice with someone else. And so therefore it's replicated, which is kind of, again, what our hope and our desire is that we continually regain the lost ground of community that bridges gaps between all humans.
Yeah. And I think another reward, which maybe we hinted at, but it breaks the notion that you have to be perfect. So like that is a reward of being vulnerable. It's like, oh, I don't always have to have things together.
Right.
Because the truth is none of us do.
Yeah.
And so just breaking down that barrier of like, performing or putting on this mask of like, I have to be perfect or somebody I'm not.
Right.
We can take that off.
Yes.
And see each other.
Yes.
So as you practice being vulnerable this week with others, a couple things. Notice if maybe you're tending to share information and keep it surface level, and course correct there. And really like ask yourself, what can I share here where I could practice vulnerability? And notice how you feel inside. Notice how the other person responds. Just begin to notice, develop awareness. And then we would love, actually on Friday, we're gonna talk about that, like what we noticed in ourselves and how we have practiced vulnerability this week. And we would love to hear from you too. So we encourage you to practice vulnerability in the next few days. And
sincerely, thanks for sharing your space with us. Thanks for sharing this time with us. And we look forward to continually growing in relationship with you and sharing more of ourselves with you. So see you Friday.